Genesis 3:1-5. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Has God indeed said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. Then the serpent said to the woman, You will not surely die. For God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.
In this passage, we observe a cunning serpent engaging with a woman and questioning the divine command that forbids consuming from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The serpent tempts the woman by insinuating that the divine prohibition of the fruit is motivated by a desire to prevent her and Adam from attaining godlike knowledge. This temptation speaks to the woman's natural curiosity and desire for wisdom.
Genesis 3:6. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate.
The woman succumbs to the serpent's temptation and partakes of the forbidden fruit. Afterward, she shares the fruit with Adam, who also consumes it. This act of disobedience represents the first sin in human history and lays the foundation for humanity's fall from grace.
Genesis 3:7-13. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Then the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, Where are you? So he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? Then the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And the Lord God said to the woman, What is this you have done? The woman said, The serpent deceived me, and I ate.
As a consequence of eating the forbidden fruit, Adam and Eve's eyes are opened, and they become aware of their nakedness. This newfound knowledge brings shame and fear, prompting them to create coverings from fig leaves and hide from God. When confronted by God about their disobedience, Adam blames the woman, and the woman blames the serpent. This passage illustrates the destructive impact of sin on relationships and trust, both with God and with one another. As you continue reading the Bible, consider how these early stories of disobedience and sin provide a backdrop for the unfolding story of God's plan for redemption and restoration.
Genesis 3:14-19. So the Lord God said to the serpent, Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all cattle, and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you shall go, and you shall eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. And to Adam he said, Because you have heeded the voice of your wife, and have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake, in toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you shall return.
In response to their disobedience, God pronounces a series of curses upon the serpent, the woman, and Adam. The serpent is cursed to crawl on its belly and eat dust for the rest of its life. God also establishes enmity between the serpent and the woman, as well as between their respective offspring. This conflict foreshadows the ongoing struggle between good and evil throughout human history and hints at a future redemption through the woman's offspring. The woman is cursed with increased pain during childbirth and a desire for her husband, who is now given authority over her. This change in the relationship dynamic between man and woman is a direct result of sin entering the world. Finally, Adam is cursed with a life of hardship and toil as he works the ground, which is now cursed to produce thorns and thistles. This curse reflects the consequences of Adam's decision to disobey God's command. Ultimately, Adam is reminded that he was formed from dust and will return to dust when he dies.
Genesis 3:20-24, and Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Also for Adam and his wife the Lord God made tunics of skin, and clothed them. Then the Lord God said, Behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever, therefore the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to guard the way to the tree of life.
In the aftermath of these curses, Adam names his wife Eve, acknowledging her role as the mother of all living humans. God then makes garments of skin to cover their nakedness, providing a temporary covering for their shame. To prevent them from eating the fruit of the tree of life and living forever in their fallen state, God expels Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. Cherubim and a flaming sword are placed at the entrance to guard the way to the tree of life. The story of Adam and Eve's disobedience and expulsion from the Garden of Eden sets the stage for the rest of the Bible, highlighting humanity's need for redemption and the lengths to which God will go to restore the relationship between himself and his creation. As you continue reading, you'll encounter stories of God's faithfulness, his covenant promises, and the unfolding plan of redemption through the lives of various biblical figures.
Genesis 4:1-2, Now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. Then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground.
In this passage, we are introduced to the first two children of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. Cain becomes a farmer, working the soil, while Abel becomes a shepherd, tending to the sheep. These two brothers represent the beginning of human society and the diversity of human occupations.
Genesis 4:3-5, And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And the Lord respected Abel and his offering, but he did not respect Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell.
Both Cain and Abel bring offerings to the Lord. Abel offers the firstborn of his flock, a symbol of the best that he has to offer, while Cain presents an offering of produce from the ground. The Lord respects Abel's offering but does not respect Cain's offering. The reason for this difference in God's response is not explicitly stated, but it may be related to the quality of the offerings or the attitudes of the brothers as they presented their gifts. Cain becomes angry and resentful because his offering is not respected.
Genesis 4:6-8, So the Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door. And its desire is for you, but you should rule over it. Now Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him.
God confronts Cain about his anger and challenges him to do well, promising that he will be accepted if he does so. God also warns Cain that sin desires to overpower him, but that he should rule over it. Despite this warning, Cain allows his anger and jealousy to consume him, leading him to murder his brother Abel in the field. The story of Cain and Abel reveals the destructive nature of sin, as it spreads from the disobedience of Adam and Eve to the violent actions of their offspring. As you continue reading the Bible, pay attention to the ways in which God intervenes in human history to address sin, offer hope, and ultimately bring about redemption through Jesus Christ.
Genesis 4:9-12, Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a vagabond you shall be on the earth.
God confronts Cain about the murder of his brother Abel. In response, Cain tries to avoid responsibility by asking whether he is his brother's keeper. God declares that Abel's blood cries out to him from the ground, demanding justice. As punishment for his actions, Cain is cursed by God, and the ground will no longer yield its strength to him. He is also condemned to be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth.
Genesis 4:13-15, And Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground, I shall be hidden from your face, I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, and it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me. And the Lord said to him, Therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark on Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him.
Cain laments the severity of his punishment, fearing that he will be killed by others as he wanders the earth. In response, God places a mark on Cain, promising that anyone who kills him will suffer a sevenfold vengeance. This mark serves as both a protection and a reminder of Cain's actions and their consequences.
Genesis 4:16-24. Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mehujael, and Mehujael begot Methuselah, and Methuselah begot Lamech. Then Lamech took for himself 2 wives, the name of one was Ada, and the name of the second was Zillah. And Ada bore Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all those who play the harp and flute. And as for Zillah, she also bore Tuval-Cain, an instructor of every craftsman in bronze and iron. And the sister of Tuval-Cain was Naamah. Then Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, wives of Lamech, listen to my speech. For I have killed a man for wounding me, even a young man for hurting me. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, then Lamech 77fold.
Cain settles in the land of Nod, east of Eden, and starts a family. His descendants include the first city builders, musicians, and metal workers. Lamech, a descendant of Cain, becomes the first person recorded in the Bible to have multiple wives. He boasts of killing a man and declares that if God avenged Cain sevenfold, he himself should be avenged 77fold. This passage illustrates the escalating nature of sin and violence in human society as it progresses through the generations. The moral decline of humanity is evident in Lamech's actions and boastful speech.
Genesis 4:25-26, And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and named him Seth, for God has appointed another seed for me instead of Abel, whom Cain killed. And as for Seth, to him also a son was born, and he named him Enosh. Then men began to call on the name of the Lord.
In the midst of the darkness and violence characterizing Cain's lineage, a new hope emerges with the birth of Seth, Adam and Eve's third son. Seth is seen as a replacement for Abel, and through his lineage, the worship of God is rekindled as people begin to call on the name of the Lord.